welcome. My name is Tobijah Salvius, aka Orange Puma, and I am the Vice Chancellor of the UGN and one of the lead directors of UGN Media. Today I'll be presenting you my thoughts about the ACH war. Remember, these are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. If you have a problem with them, come and speak with me. Do not take it out on the UGN. The UGN may have similar opinions of this, but if you want to know UGN's official opinions, ask II John S117. Thank you. In this video, I will begin with the roadmap, and then I'll continue on about every aspect of the ACH war so far. My opinions about everything, the raid record so far, why the war started, why the UGN joined the war. So, let's begin. Here's a roadmap. So, first I'll start off by saying how the war started. Then I'll move into why the UGN joined the war, the current raid record, and then I'll do 4 of the important battles. More like 3 of the important battles and 1 battle that was claimed to happen that we just don't even really count. And then I'll do a wrap up of the outcome of the war. So the war officially started on April 28th, 2014, whenever Z. Mark Antony, leader of the New Lunar Republic, declared war on the ACH. He has several reasons for doing this. Some of them being that the ACH sent a spy, or attempted to send a spy named Hellraiser into the clan. They made threats against them, saying that they're going to attack them within a week of him declaring war. Before he actually had done it, that was partially why he did it. Just several things like this. Basically, in this message, he just says, after a vote and long thinking and talking to his allies, the NLR has declared war on the ACH. This is a short clip from his declaration of war video.
Basically, Joe, this is different. You're going to be fighting your own men, which now is kind of sad. ACH used to be a high power now. Now look at it. It's now a civil war, Joe. And I honestly don't care. I really don't. But I'm not going to allow you to do your childish ways like how you did with the HICOM, WPX, and all these wars. We're going to actually settle this like grown men, grown people, I guess. And we're actually going to do this in a smart way, not with just basically guerrilla tactics. It may work for you in the past, but it won't work for you now, Joe. I know how you play this, and I'll make sure that this is fair on both sides. We're going to settle this the way how it should have been. With that said and done, this is Z. Mark Antony signing out, and I hope to see you all in the brighter later.
Okay, that's a short clip of that video. That's about the last minute or so, whenever he actually officially says that he's declaring war. Leading until that, he says his reasons for declaring war, and he shows a clip of a raid that ACH invited him to actually help them, and this was after they stopped being allies. And this was after the point where Spartan Joe says that they're trying to avoid conflict with him and avoid contact with him entirely. Now, if you're going to avoid contact with him, you wouldn't necessarily invite him to your game to help you. Now, after Mark declares war, there's several things you ask yourself. Did Mark want this war? Is one of those questions. And here's a comment from a YouTube video not too long before, where Mark basically made this video saying the true Spartan Joe 214. He doesn't necessarily talk bad about him. He just says how he doesn't act like a good leader. And in the comments, Golden Tyler basically says that ACH will crumble, Spartan Joe will crumble, he's paranoid, and that he would like to talk to Mark about their battle plans about Mark attacking them. And Mark's reply is that he doesn't mind talking to him, but he will not he will not attack the ACH unless the ACH attacks him. He will not declare war against them unless they do something against him to begin it, because that's his policy in his clan. He won't just declare war on someone randomly. And he kept up with that. I mean, Mark waited, even after he found out that Joe was attempting to send a spy into his clan. He waited until Joe said that he was going to attack him to declare war. This is Joe's reply. Joe replied this in the declaration of war video. He says that ACH made all possible attempts to avoid conflict, including trying to avoid contact. Now, if you're going to avoid contact with someone, you wouldn't ask them for help in a raid. I mean, that's just simple as that. If you don't want to, you wouldn't talk to them at all. You wouldn't have them on your friends list. You wouldn't speak to them personally. You wouldn't speak to them about your clans. You wouldn't talk to them at all. You wouldn't ask them for help. Especially after this conflict had been stirring up and was building up. And then after that, he goes into depth saying that the NLR is corrupt and war hungry. Now, this is where Mr. Spartan Joe here really falls off and just basically lost any support that I had for him, because he does not have any idea what the word corrupt means. Because if he was going to use the word corrupt against Mark, who has shown no signs of corruption, and Spartan Joe being one of the most corrupt leaders I have ever met, he would have been a massive hypocrite. Here again, Joe says that they're corrupt and war hungry, and then he goes into the terms for the war to end. And in these terms, he states that two of them are pretty normal. Like, they were pretty reasonable terms. He just says that the NLR will have to admit defeat to the ACH, and that they'll have to swear to never attack, slander, or threaten the ACH ever again, which is pretty reasonable. That's the normal stuff for a war. And then yet again, this is where that corruption comes into play. He goes as far as to going to this. He says, accept a governor from the ACH into the NLR for 21 days. And while he is there, he has full leadership over the NLR. He can do anything. He can declare war on anyone. He can, in the NLR, he can kick any members he wants. Do anything he wants in the NLR for these 21 days. And then he goes further by saying that after these 21 days, the council, if they want to, can continue his term in the NLR. Meaning that ACH would just have full power over the NLR for as long as Joe wants, basically. Then he goes in and says that right off the bat, 4 members would have to be removed from the NLR. These 4 members are all people that used to be members of ACH. 2 of them were blacklisted. Now, these 2 members are Tech Corruption and a Jerking Sloth. I will, later on in this video, explain to you why they got blacklisted. So, let's continue. Also, for Joe, let's backtrack a little bit. Yeah, why I'm saying Joe's corrupt and why he's a hypocrite is because right here he says that he will basically be in charge of the NLR, and that he will kick these 4 members in NLR that are there to have fun. These are all people that, 2 of them at least, are blacklisted, meaning Joe has a problem with them. And honestly, I feel that Joe is just trying to do that to get revenge on them for anything they could have possibly done to him for his own personal gain. And he's acting pretty dishonest about it. He just overall just seems like a dishonest person, and I have examples of that later on. But here's the definition of corrupt: having or showing a willingness to act dishonestly in return for money or personal gain. Like I said, him removing these members from the NLR would be his own personal gain because he gets revenge for it. Also, him being in charge at NLR would be his own personal gain. Now, this really shows who the corrupt one is. Also, in this video here, this is a speech that Joe made to his members and all of his allies saying, stand strong, stand together, basically. And let's listen to it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the community. I am sure you are all aware of the grave situation. Some days ago, the new Lunar Republic declared war on the allied continents of Halo despite our best attempts to avoid contact and ensure peace. Though deception, corruption, and injustice has spread. Several declarations of war have been sent from the SA and the UGN clans, and a few more are thought to be declaring war within the next few days. Gone is the time of diplomacy, gentlemen. Now is the time to take up arms. Now is the time to fight for what you believe. Now is the time to hold faith on corruption and lies around you. Now is the time to fight. They think they have us beat, but our cause is more powerful than any weapon, stronger than any individual. It cannot be taken and destroyed, for as long as there is one who believes in righteousness and justice, it will stand. Our foes may be more numerous than the stars above reach, and we may be outgunned, but remember what you fight for. Do not submit to fear. Look around at your brother soldiers, at your faithful allies and everything they stand for. Take pride and strength from that side. Be brave, for together we will be victorious. Stand strong, stand together. Good luck on the battlefield, gentlemen.
Okay, so there was a brief moment in that video where he says people that stand for justice and righteousness. Now, yet again, Spartan Joe here doesn't really realize what he is talking about majority of the time. Like justice. He does not understand the meaning of justice. And if he's talking about someone that stands for justiceness or righteousness, he's not talking about his clan. He's probably talking about the NLR or the UGN, to tell you the truth, because he is one of the most corrupt individuals I have seen in this Halo community. And here's proof of how he acts. He has acts of injustice and the complete opposite of righteousness. But before we go into that, I'd like to clarify that justice is is just behavior or treatment, and then righteousness is the quality of moral being, right or justifiable. Now, these actions that Joe do in this video from Tech Corruption's channel completely aren't like acts of justice, and they're not justifiable at all. They're not righteous. Actually, they're completely dishonest and gets against his own rules. Let's listen to it.
All started after I made council rank, which in the same day I was leading ACH's ODST division. This guy joined the army and was kicked when his friend joined because he had an elite gamertag. Joe just kicked him thinking he was a spy because of his friend's gamertag. No council vote, no debate, he just kicked. The spy, quote unquote, who had been kicked out previously was in my game, and we were looking through maps, as him and I had become close. We got to a map titled ACH, made by none other than Spartan Joe 214. I started the game, and it was a map that was shown to me the other day by the spy that he had made in the previous clan. This frustrated him, and he messaged Joe to please not use his maps without asking first, and Joe flipped out. He invited me to the party and told me he was causing too many problems and was going to be kicked out. This pissed me off. I started arguing with him, telling him to calm down, and it was an overreaction. I finally got irritated and joined a different party. The key word here is party. I went to message Joe and found that I couldn't find him on my friends list. He sent out a message that my other friend told me said I left and the spy was kicked. I had gathered 14 ODSTs since I became Major Colonel, and within seconds Joe reduced it to 4 or 5. He kicked most of them and told everyone they left. This all happened as I was doing a training with my guys. This is also the point where Joe made ACH an empire.
Okay, so in that video, Tech Corruption basically says that Joe removed several members of the clan without asking for a council vote, and stuff along those lines. Just perfect examples of corruption, basically. And honestly, it's ridiculous. It's not justifiable at all, and especially saying that it is against his own rules. Because number 14 on his code of conduct says only the council can remove players from ACH, not the general. And Joe is the general. He's a member of the council, but he is also a general, not the council itself. So he cannot make those decisions by himself. So, like Tech Corruption said, if he did not ask for a council vote, then that was completely dishonest, not righteous or just. Okay, so that's basically all the lead up to the war and stuff going on with ACH. But here, this is why the UGN went to war. Okay, so just before the war started, this is actually on the Declaration of War video. John basically states that this should be fought between the NLR and the ACH. And he goes as far as saying that he is allies with the NLR, and the only way he will help them is if ACH brings in a bunch of allies. And you see right here in quotes, he says they most likely will. And this is because they have a history of not being able to carry themselves in their own raids. They don't have enough people, honestly, and they need people to be there for them. Perfect example, the NLR during the HICOM war. The NLR had to be there. They're probably there every single raid, to tell you the truth, because he cannot support his own raids. Meaning that this right here proves that John did not want to be in this war. He did not want to have anything to do with this war. And also here's proof stating that the NLR is our ally on our alliance awareness on our website. And then on the NLR's website, it says that the UGN is the top of their ally list. So the current raid record. Now this is very debatable, and this will probably cause a lot of ACH members to get upset because they're getting speeched at that this is the current record. And today, there were 2 extra raids that have happened, and Joe hasn't made a statement about his opinions of those raids, so I'm not going to update their record based on that. I'll only update our side, so you should be ready to look at his updates to see if he has updated that yet. So I'll just start with the UGN side. So the UGN has won 4 raids and lost none. Now, ACH says that the UGN has won a raid, lost a raid, and tied a raid. Now, that's absolutely ridiculous. And then he says for the NLR that they lost 2 raids, didn't win any, and tied 1. And I'll explain all of those in just a moment, but this is including the wins from today. So, the first raid, Operation D-Day. This is while I was still in NLR. We were sitting on a training session map, and basically all we were doing was having these Banshees fight Warthogs. The Warthogs had to fight the Banshees off. And while we were in the middle of training, we had just destroyed 2 of the Warthogs, sending about 6 people back to spawn. Helianth invited the ACH to the game, and at this point in time, Helianth was an ex-ACH member, and he was a spy for ACH inside the NLR. So basically, all that happens in this raid was we just had to wait him out. The raid lasted 3 to 4 hours, and basically it was just a spawn kill zone in this area, and the map didn't have much on it. There was no base, there was no weapons. All there really was 2 Warthogs, 3 Banshees, and a Wraith here and a Wraith here. The Banshees spawned up there, just to clarify. So this is just ridiculous. He spawned a training session for absolutely no point. There was nothing to defend. So all we did was spawn kill them for the entire raid, and they spawn killed us once they killed our Banshees and took over the map. And basically, the raid keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, and the lobby fills up with the majorly UGN forces and then a couple NLR members, and then right before the end of the game, the ACH had 2 members left. Infamous Hero and Reclaimers 117, if I'm correct. And these 2 members basically come to Mark and want to talk peace for the raid. And Mark says to them, you know what, I'll be nice. Today, this raid will be a win counted on the raid record. But if you set up a meeting tomorrow, Friday, with Joe, we'll call this raid a tie. And the ACH members misunderstood him and thought that he was saying that the raid would be a tie no matter what. So they go and tell Joe that it was going to be a tie. Joe then denies the meeting and tells Dark Itsuna, we were in a party with him, me and Mark, and Dark Itsuna tells us that Joe had just told him that he was going on the defensive from now on, and that they weren't going to have that meeting. And at that point in time, just completely threw out the idea of the peace. Now, this is his update, where he says that the operation was a success, even though they lost the raid, which I think is quite funny. And then he goes and saying that for some unknown reason, to ACH, the NLR and the UGN are saying that they won the raid despite the agreement for it to be a neutral tie. But the thing is there wasn't really a neutral tie agreement. It was saying that if they had the meeting, it would be a neutral tie. And guess what? They didn't have the meeting, so no neutral tie. Also, to clarify, he says right here that they spawn killed, and they spawn killed us, we spawn killed them, went back and forth. I want to clarify before we can say that was a win for that. It says in his own rules that just to avoid spawn killing, not that it can't happen. And then right here, this is the definition of D-Day. And I'd like to clarify this because Joe says Operation D-Day. What D-Day stands for is the day on which an operation is supposed to happen. And it works the same as like H-hour or T-minus like 10 seconds, where they'll go T-minus 10, 9, 8. Basically, they'll be like 30 days before it, they'll be like D-minus 30 days. And leading up to it, they'll just keep minusing off a day until the day when the operation actually happens, which would be D-Day. The day of the operation. But the way Joe phrases this is Operation D-Day, which would be Operation Day of the Operation. Now, that's just another example of Joe not knowing absolutely anything that he is talking about. I just wanted to throw that in there. So, here's Mark's message that he sent out saying that the NLR foiled the D-Day operation when all the ACH and ROH members left the training session. They tried to raid. After UG and 2 other clans came in, now both clans discuss on peace. Currently, due to council decision, the score is NLR 1, ACH 0. You see, currently, he says it's currently, right here. Currently, that's the score in the raid, meaning that if they would have had the meeting Friday, they would have counted it not as a win. They would count it as a tie. Battle of Firebase Romeo, and this was the biggest failure of the war so far. Basically, the raid lasted for around 8 to 9 hours. I was in there for about 5 hours. I honestly got really tired in the end. It didn't end until really late my time, and all the members were getting tired. It got down to Allied Forces versus 1 ACH member, Reclaimers 117. And for about the last hour of the raid, all Reclaimers did was sit at spawn and just doodle around in the canyon. He told us that there was no possible way of him winning, and that ACH already had lost the raid, basically surrendering. And then he goes as far as just sitting there and doing nothing. And we ask him to leave, and he tells us no because they'll make him look bad in ACH's eyes. So, after about an hour and a half of waiting for him to attack, Mark ends the game because he's agitated and tired and didn't really have the best judgment of the time. But, I mean, that's understandable. He was tired. And this is why I call it the biggest failure of the war, is because we had the win at our fingertips, and we just let it go away. We just dropped it. And, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it at this point, but at that point in time, Mark saw it as a loss. After talking to John later on, John informed him that Joe said that that the war would be based off community raid rules. And one of the raid rules in the community is that you have a certain amount of time to attack the base, and if you don't attack it in that time, then it's an automatic forfeit. And I think an hour and a half is enough time to say that it's an automatic forfeit. So at this point in time, the UGN and the NLR are calling this a win. Right here, he just says that we had control of the firebase for around 10 hours yesterday. He ended the game because Reclaimers 117 refused to fight us and just waited it out. So he ended the game. Battle of Firebase Charlie. Now, this was the first offensive raid for the ACH. It was between the ACH and the UGN. No other forces were in there. I wasn't in the UGN at this point in time, so I don't have any information about it really, besides the fact that we won. And I don't have the maps or any pictures to show you, so sorry about that. So this is Joe's official post saying that Mark ended the game, meaning that he won. ACH was inactive, but he really was inactive. He wasn't attacking the base at all. He made absolutely no attempt to attack the base because towards the end of the raid, there was no one in the base. Meaning he could have just walked on in, but he didn't make any attempt to do it. The video proof in his file share. The win turned the war record to 1 win, 0 losses, and a tie with the NLR. And then he says that he defended the base attacked by the UGN. After 5 hours combat, they lost the base, and then next 2 to 3 hours, they attempted to take it back, and the WRC convinced Joe to end the game. So Joe ended it, giving the first defensive loss for ACH. And then there's this. The meeting on the UGN Capitol. And the UGN officials do not consider this to be a raid. The NLR doesn't consider this a raid. The majority of the clans that we have personally asked don't consider this to be a raid besides Spartan Joe and his forces. Basically, a synopsis of what happened is we were having a meeting on the UGN Capitol between UGN and a few of its allies. A random person joins the game. We consider them to be a troll. They hadn't declared war on the UGN at this time, and we had no idea what clan they were in. And we were waiting to talk to them before we kicked them from the game. Basically, all they did was come to the meeting room, kill me and another UGN official named Rogue Serenity, and then we kicked them from the game because we considered them to be trolls. About an hour after this, Joe sends a message saying that this will be considered a win because we kicked one of their members, even though at this point in time, this was a war between the ACH and the NLR and the UGN, not between the ACH and its allies. So if it were to be considered a raid, the ally would be able to call it a win. ACH wouldn't be, so it wouldn't be considered a win on ACH's record. But that would be how they got the 1 win in their record that I showed you earlier, where it's 1-1-1. Like I said, we don't even consider it to be a win, loss, or a tie. We're not considering it to be anything, so it's not going to be counted on our record. And this is where he basically says what happened. And the 405th Regiment joined an enemy meeting, and after killing several enemy troops, they kicked from the game, giving us a win from the UGN and NLR. The thing is we did not know they were part of the 405th. It was just a random kid. Wasn't wearing any special emblem, and the thing is they didn't declare war on them yet. Joe said that the 405th did, but how are we supposed to know who the 405th are unless they declare war on us? And we never accepted any terms from them or that they were a part of this war. And at this point in time, we were only at war with the ACH, meaning that if it was a raid with the ACH, they could call it a win, I guess, if we would consider it to be a win. But since it wasn't with ACH, there was no ACH member in the game. Therefore, it is not a raid with the ACH, so it does not go on the ACH's record. Wrap up. Now, here is the possible outcomes for this war. I mean, there's a few possible outcomes. And in these possible outcomes, I'd like to give the UGN and the NLRs basically what they want to happen. And the only way they're going to stop this war. And that is if Spartan Joe steps out of power. If he steps out of power. Has someone take his spot. And there are many ACH members that support us on this. They just are afraid of removing him because they think if they remove him, then ACH will fall. And it'll basically crumble because of their leader. But the thing is there are several leaders that could take his place. Several ex-ACH members that would gladly do it. And several members in the ACH that would be a great job of doing it. Some of these people are, Jax, MZ Legendary, Tech Corruption, Jerking Sloth, Reclaimers 117. Any of these people would do a great job of a leader of the ACH. Honestly, probably a better job than Joe, which is kind of ridiculous. Can ACH survive this war? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But the only way they will possibly survive is if Joe gets removed from power. If they don't remove from power, UGN and the NLR will not stop until ACH crumbles. And there's nothing else we can say about it. That's basically how it's going to go. So, anyway, those were my opinions of this war. Like I said, these were not UGN's opinions. These were my personal opinions. But anyway, this being UGN's first video, we would like you to spread awareness of the UGN and give support to it by commenting, subscribing, liking it, anything, sharing it to your friends, telling other clan leaders about the video. And also, if you would like to add your personal opinions to the comments, I would appreciate it. I'll read them all. I'll possibly reply to you on them. But anyway, it's about time to end this. So, my name's Tobijah Salvius, signing out. Thank you.